From all Rhine Lab-related stories, especially in Lone Trail, we have learned a lot about each Rhine section leader, but one still pretty much shrouded in mystery, and that is the Science Investigation section leader, Andonate Mariam. He's a Kuranta male, noted as a somewhat stubborn scientist that won't back down in the face of discovery, and apparently Magellan's mentor. We never saw his face in the Arknights story, though we got a glimpse of what appears to be him in this official artwork for Lone Trail event, featuring all section leaders. And now, this mystery man will be the reason for the start of Typhon's event, and Expeditioner's Joklumarker. The story of Black Forest Wills a Dream starts with the member of Rhine SIS, Venta Magellan. She was about to prepare for her usual trip to the Infi ice fields, but turns out this time is a whole lot different. It's revealed that Mariam and 14 others in his team are currently missing on their trip to the ice fields, and Magellan is tasked to find and rescue the team since she is quite experienced with the ice field. A SAR team organized by the Exploration Society is actually already formed. However, they are known to be inefficient and might take longer to do the search operation. Then Magellan was sent to the ice field using the usual route through Ursus. A little bit about the Infinite Ice Field, or the Northland. It's a vast Arctic tundra covered with only snow and glaciers. That has not been fully explored yet, especially in the northern area, which became a hotspot among explorer societies, particularly for Colombian explorers. But the cold and scarcity of supplies are not the only things to be worried about. This place is known to be the home of mysterious entities, often called the demons. It's uncertain if they physically exist, but from those who have saw them, they are described as having many grotesque features and a black, foggy, formless body, and having some supernatural ability. Because of the possible threat of those demons, Ursus and Sami, and a few other countries and groups to some extent, have always been monitoring the north. It is even said those demons can gain power and simply manifest themselves when someone knows about them, then think and begin to fear them. Thus why the knowledge of their existence is suppressed in order not to become public knowledge. With mainly nation higher-ups, soldiers specifically tasked to fight them, and most likely some of those icefield explorers know about the demons. As for Maggie, she is also hinted to know a little about our SCP friends. But even with the obvious threat, many explorers with backing from Colombian corporate still went to Icefield for survey or build an outpost. And now, it is time for Maggie to visit the north once again. Exactly 2 months later, she arrived at a supply depot meant for Icefield Exploration's team, and also the place where Mariam's team took supplies for their trip. Inside, Maggie finds out that Mariam's team has taken more supplies than what is meant for 15 people. Then she looks at some terminal and finds out that Mary's team has sent a distress signal and their coordinates from the ice field. But this message took some time before it got here, meaning this signal could be sent long before she arrived. Later, an Ursus envoy named Ivan arrived to clarify Maggie's documents and guide her to the ice field. However, he has bad news. All permits to enter the ice field this year have been canceled for an unknown reason. A common case, apparently. But Maggie told about her mission and why she couldn't wait for the official SR team. Ivan then asks if Maggie can share the missing team's last known coordinate. He then proceeds to act all sus while contacting his colleague about this. It is clear that the Ursine knows about Mary's team exploration to the north, and it seems Mary's team is related to whatever is happening up there. Then, since Maggie can't enter the ice field through Ursus, she decides to go through Sami where authority shouldn't prohibit her, although the way through Sami will be difficult with fewer supply posts, and she has never used this route before. Ivan is also going to escort her to the border after he was told to keep an eye on her by his superiors. 1 week later, the duo arrived at the sentry outpost near the border. For an outpost, the place is rather spacious, with a big old dead tree inside, which according to Ivan has been planted by some Sami tribesmen long ago. Both then talked a little bit about Sami. From Ursine's point of view, Sami and its people are savages, a bunch of primitive tribes who often attack and invade their territory. Despite facing the same enemy, that is the demons in the north. He even said that there is a vengeful spirit they call the Witch, who often hunt down any Ursine near Sami-Ursus border, which also resulted in Ursus choosing not to build any permanent outpost on the border. But here we got a short flashback from that so-called witch, which reveals that it's actually Ursus who is the aggressor. Back in the present, there's a strange wind coming from Sami's direction, which could mean a snowstorm. So Ivan tells Maggie to take shelter in the outpost while he inspects the incoming storm. Little did Maggie know he's setting a signal for Ursus soldiers to come here and take her. Apparently, the Ursine also have their own problem with investigating the north, and need someone experienced with an unremarkable background like Magellan to guide them. Shortly, as the snowstorm is picking up, Maggie can see a familiar figure in the middle of the storm. It appears the person also controls the storm to not touch her. It's Simone, or known by her Rhodes Island codename, Santala, a Sami Fjord who often operates near Sami, and an old friend of Magellan who once helped her during a survey to the ice field. Maggie welcomes her to the outpost and tells Santala about her situation. Santala gladly offers her help to guide Maggie through Sami. They then talk a little, and it's revealed that Santala was actually from around here. In fact, it used to be her duty to protect the sacred old tree inside the outpost, well, until the Ursus decided to conquer them. Shortly, Santala tells Maggie they need to depart ASAP since it looks like the place will be crushed by the storm anytime soon. But Maggie wanted to check on Ivan first, to which Santala insisted on searching for him alone. After some time, Santala returns and claims Ivan is nowhere to be found. So with that, the two proceed to their next destination. After a short walk, Maggie notices Santala is using an Ursine comms, to which Santala said she bought it. And then Maggie shows Santala 2 pieces of bark that fell off from the old tree. Luckily, Magellan didn't obtain it by hurting the tree, and then Santala looked at the bark and puts the two together to reveal its symbolism. Gidea and Hylir, a sign of good luck. Sometime later, Magellan and Santala are now in Sami territory, specifically Mountain Veterton. Pass this mountain range and they should enter the ice field. Based on previous expedition records, Maggie said there was supposed to be a settlement at the foot of the mountain, but now they're gone. And according to Santala, some tribes are indeed known to move from one place to another. Moments later, snow is picking up, and Maggie is writing a note and thinking about Mariam. She begins to hallucinate, hearing and seeing Mariam in the distance amidst the mist. Luckily, a female Sarkaz approaches her. By using her arts, she wakes up Maggie from the hallucination and tells her not to respond to the voice. She introduces herself as Typhon, a huntress and Santala's acquaintance. Upon learning of the duo's mission, she offers her help to go to the ice field with them. But first, they have to get out of here. Apparently, the surrounding area, which hasn't been used for travel by many people for a long time, has been contaminated by the demons. To avoid the city girl getting their attention, Typhon tells Maggie to not be loud, then rubs something to her ears, and tells her to put what it seems to be a ball of mud and mosses under her mouth. That should allow her to not hear anything other than her own voice until they get to somewhere safer. A short walk later, they are nearing a guard post, and the northern warriors who are stationed here spot the trio. Santala tries to reason with the warriors to let them enter the ice field, but they won't allow anyone to enter the ice field rashly. Furthermore, they are quite hostile towards foreigners like Magellan, and interestingly, they don't trust Typhon either, since her bow is believed to have been tainted by the demons, and the fact she was raised by a Cyclops Sarkaz, who is believed to bring disaster. Then, worrying about the situation, Maggie spit the mud ball from her mouth and tries to reason with the guards. But this bird brain doesn't know what she did attracted the demons to them. With the warriors are shifting their attention to their public enemy, number 1. The trio manages to escape using a secret passage that Typhon knows. They escaped, but with the situation, Maggie decided it would be best to get help from the Exploration Society. So now the destination is Kapat, the southernmost city in Sami, and where most Colombian companies, including Rhine, placed. And along the way, Maggie will gather information on the route to make the SAR team journey easier. And despite the destination being changed, Santala and Typhon are still going to accompany Maggie. Furthermore, Typhon said she is actually going to meet with a client in Kapat. Then the trio continues moving. According to Typhon, this passage will lead them to Arga's cave, the Sarkaz who once raised her. But while passing through the passage, the trio notices another strange phenomenon caused by the demons. The snow around them is floating upward and is accumulating. It will surely crumble and bury them alive. Luckily, Typhon knows a Sarkaz witchcraft to handle the situation. It requires blood from the 3 of them, and then Typhon soaks one of her arrows with it. She fires the arrow to the accumulating snow, and with a loud sound, the entire slab of snow falls, clearing the path for the trio to move. After a while, they arrive at the cave and rest, but Argus is nowhere to be found. Inside, Maggie read up some notes belonging to Argus, and a particular sentence caught her attention. When the box is opened, Anskotarnir will realize. Anskotarnir. It's what the Sami sometimes use to call those demons. It was the last thing that Miriam told her when she was hallucinating. Meanwhile, Santala is outside, listening to her comms. And here we know the Ursine comms she has actually belonged to an Ursine personnel. But all she can hear is that the Ursine are talking about 2 individuals in Sami, Liebefowl and Black Mark. After they have rested, the trio continues their journey to the south and is now nearing the forest area in central Sami. Here we got some tidbits about Sami. Like Sami's primary export is medical ingredients, which interestingly can't be cultivated outside of Sami, and how the people categorize themselves. Those who live in the North Mountain Range are called mountain folks. The place is pretty much a front line against demons in the north, and they often get into conflict with Ursus, so them being uptight is understandable. Then there's forest folk who live in the center of Sami, where each forest tribe has its own sacred tree, and in the south filled mostly with wetlands, there lives not wet folks, but marsh folks, which is noted to trade and converse with foreigners the most. Later, they arrive at one of the forest tribes to rest. Maggie is astonished to see the giant tree and how the people built their houses around it. But surprisingly, the tribe is going to move to another area soon. Something that is not common for a tribe with a tree, even can be considered as disgraceful. As Mag and Typhon are resting in one of the empty houses on the tree, Santala was asked to discuss something with the tribe's shaman. The reason why the tribe is going to move is because of the noticeable sign of bad omens caused by the demons near the area. And knowing Santala was once a shaman, the head shaman asks for Santala's help to decipher some symbols in the tribe's records. Later, after witnessing Maggie doing some embarrassing things like touching the sacred tree without a single concern, and accidentally ate a bunch of nuts that ended up making her temporarily mute, it's time for the trio to rest for the night. But during the night, Maggie is having a nightmare, where she becomes a moose beast and encounters the corpse of its family, murdered by the demons. And as she was about to be attacked, she woke up and went outside to catch a breath, only to see another strange phenomenon. Some kind of shadows are floating around the big tree. She takes a picture of this phenomenon, but in the photo she just took, the shadow is nowhere to be seen. Shortly, Typhon comes in, telling Mag she also has the same nightmare as her. According to Typhon, this shadow is just a harmless, immature being, but there's a chance this could become a threat like the demon. Typhon tells Maggie that they should conquer their fear in order to defeat them. So Typhon encourages Maggie to get closer to the shadow and touch it. Surprisingly, it is indeed harmless. Now Maggie feels relieved and believes that as long as she has the courage and the will to survive, she is confident to face whatever trouble in the future. The next morning, the tribe is doing a farewell ceremony to their sacred tree, and Santala is helping. As for the two, Typhon found a rather unusual snowball. It's known by the Sami as Amma's affection. It is believed to have been blessed by a sacred being called Amma. This thing is sought by many in Sami, as it's believed to grant good luck and protection, and Typhon chooses to give it to Mag. In return, Maggie gives Typhon some flares. Moments later, as the ceremony is nearing the end, the shaman can be heard saying some ritualistic language with so much passion. Then the earth rumbles, and the sacred tree can be seen beginning to move, with its root rising into the ground, forming something akin to a mobile structure. Turns out this is no ordinary ceremony, thanks to the record they have deciphered. They learned that their ancestors once journeyed with the sacred tree, and now they have awakened it, and will soon start their journey to the south and replant the tree there. So after that, the trio bid their farewell to the tribe and continue moving to their destination, with Santala still monitoring the Ursine comms. Sometime later, after passing through a place filled with dangerous mushroom spores, the trio are going to take a shortcut through the heart of Sami, an ancient forest called the First Forest. But before going through, as a custom, they would need to offer a small amount of food as an offering, just as Santala is reciting a passage. A young shaman apprentice approaches them. He introduces himself as Oak Cup. It's not his real name because he said it's too difficult to pronounce even for a fellow Sami, apparently. He was left here by his snow priest mentor to understand more about nature and Sami Vilin, the All-Father, supposedly the deity in Sami, or you could say the Sami itself. For a shaman apprentice, he is rather carefree with the whole tradition. He even said he's bored here and wanted to guide until they passed the area, which ended up somewhat irritating Santala. But eventually, the trio decided to let him come with them. Some walk later, it's almost night, so they decided to rest in a hollow tree. Santala decided to cast a protection around the tree and do the night watch. Normally, this much is unnecessary, but for some time she feels something sinister is lurking in the forest, which Typhon confirms there's demon presence near the area after she explores the place a bit. While sleeping, Maggie has another strange dream. In this dream, she becomes a creature like the Emperor, a penguin, where she sees a majestic deer-like spirit, which we later know is the being called Amma. She settles down beside Amma and begins drifting to sleep. And then she dreams within a dream. In it, she dreams of a phantom resembling an Ursine emperor's blade. As it walks, it leaves a trail of darkness and black snow falling from the sky. It then tears open Santala's frost barrier. But a horn beast, or I suppose a deer-like creature in the world of Arknights, suddenly catches its attention and chases it, and the barrier is also healed. At dawn, Maggie wakes up and realizes that the snowball blessed by Amma has melted, which according to Typhon, that may be a sign that Amma has protected them from a big problem. Then the group continued their journey, but along the way, they found a dying wild beast with its foal beside it, and the beast bleeding blood is as black as ink. a clear sign it was caused by demons. But Santala said it wasn't caused directly, so the dying beast won't turn into something sinister. Maggie then took a photo of the dying beast. But like the shadow from before, the sign of the demon, in this case, is the black blood, doesn't appear in the picture. Cup then shows his professionalism. He concludes that the beast is beyond saving, and it would be best to end its suffering. He recites some sort of prayer and then ends the beast's suffering, and he will also take care of its foal. But the black blood is the problem. It's more than what Cup can handle, so he'll contact and wait for his mentor to handle the things here, and then point away to the nearby village for the trio. And in the next scene, pretty much confirming there is indeed an Emperor's blade out of control of his power, wandering in Sammy and spreading demonic corruption. Later, the group is now at a marshfolk settlement. Maggie and Typhon are in the market and are surprised to see an Ursus caravan is here. But Maggie notices the whole village looks gloomy. Turns out some warriors from this tribe who went to the northern front were just killed on their way home, and Santala is currently helping check on the dead, since the tribe doesn't have a snow priest or many experienced shamans. The apprentice shaman then tells that one of the dead named Lazal was once an influential member of the tribe. Because of a disaster years ago, he once suggested the tribe answer the battle call from Eikthrnir, the snow priest of the most respected guardians in the north. But his younger sister Ragna, who is actually operator Gitano, suggested the tribe go south and settle someplace else. These conflicting ideas eventually led to the tribe being split, with most chosen to go to the south, and the siblings' relationship is unfortunately severed. And apparently Gitano is in the village. Through her divination, she saw a vision of her brother's death, and is here to pay respect to her last bloodkin. Then, Santala learned that these deceased warriors were brought here by the same Ursus caravan from before. Here we know that she heard from the Ursine communication channel that the individual called Liebefowl will trade with those in the wetlands. Believing this caravan knows something, she then goes to check on them. But before leaving, the shaman asks Santala if she can help the tribe again. They are about to hold a funeral ceremony and clan migration, because it seems the demonic influence has even reached this far south, and the tribe can tell the sign that they need to settle somewhere else. Santala responded that she would be back once she had taken care of her own matters. But then she learned that the caravan had already left the village a short while ago. So Santala is going to chase them, and tells Typhon and Mag to follow this tribe who are also going in the direction of Kapat, and she will rendezvous with them later. Meanwhile, the tribe's shamans are arguing about whether they should hold a traditional boat-sinking burial for the deceased or not, as it takes quite a long time, and they need to leave this place now. Then Gitano approaches them and suggests she uses her divination and lets the dead answer how they want to be buried. The shamans agreed, and after some time, Gitano said most wanted to be buried traditionally, and only one remained silent, and that was her brother. Then the shamans agree to hold a traditional burial, but this time, the tribe has to migrate alongside the deceased. Meanwhile, Maggie chose to witness the funeral ceremony, to learn more about Sammy's culture. And Mag also wants to stay with Gitano a bit longer, since she never seen her this sad before. While talking, Maggie hallucinates once again. She unconsciously scooped muddy water using a flagon she got from the Ursus caravan, and Typhon has to snap her out of that once again, but the flagon now falls into the river. Shifting to Santala, she finally caught the Ursus caravan. But turns out, they are just simple businessmen doing business in Sammy. However, they know this Liebefowl fella Santala was looking for, and he was already on his way to Kapat. The caravan member later says that those deceased Sammy were traveling with them. However, an incident, most likely involving the demons, ended up killing those Sammy. But the most shocking thing is that he tells Santala that one of the deceased was bleeding black blood. Back to the tribesmen and our protagonist. They almost reach the burial site. Maggie deploys her sample collecting beacon to collect samples of the water. But shortly, the signal from the beacon is gone. Worried, Gitano did another divination, and it's just bad omens all over the place. So Typhon suggests they get close to the front fleet and be extra cautious. Half an hour later, the ceremony started, and the boats of the deceased are beginning to sink. But shortly, the river current rocks the whole fleet. Typhon realizes that there are already too many northern warriors buried here, and the demon corruption might have taken one or some of the dead. Sensing the approaching danger, Typhon uses her arts to prevent the remaining boats of the deceased from sinking, and orders the fleet to sail out of here fast while she will protect the rear. Surrounding areas begin to darken. Worse, solid entities and transformed Sami warriors are approaching. Using the bow and her ancient arts, Typhon fought back those monstrosities and tells Gitano and Maggie to never look back. But Gitano accidentally looks back, begins to panic, and feels an extreme fear. Luckily, Santala comes in to help the fight, and Maggie calms Gitano. Yet it seems the situation is still too much to handle. Maggie then feels the urge to look back, but all she sees is pitch-black darkness. As things are getting worse, out of nowhere, Sami warriors from tree-scar tribes emerge and help defeat the demons. They are the elite and the most respected warriors in the north. But sadly, the developer can't spare time creating their character sprites after the threat is gone. Their leader, Arknights, approaches them. It is rare to see northern warriors, especially them wandering this far south. It seems they are here to rally more men and also answer the call for help that apparently was sent by Gitano some time ago. Arknights persuades the tribesmen to join them in the northern front. He claims that by only overcoming the fear and facing it head-on, could the people finally defeat the disaster from the north. He then approaches Santala. Knowing about her, he talks about the futility of her revenge against the Ursus, and asks her to join him in the north instead. Santala is somewhat moved by his words, but she still rejects the invitation. So now the trio are continuing moving to the city, while Gitano went another way. She is still thinking about her brother, but then sees a familiar flagon with a prayer inscribed on it down the river. It was the flagon that Maggie dropped, and turns out it belonged to Gitano's brother. At least with this, she has something to honor the memory of her deceased brother. Sometime later, after all the trouble and discovery, the trio finally arrived in the city, and each went their way. Maggie went to the local Rhine HQ. Santala is going to find this Liebefowl fella, and Typhon is meeting with her client. Surprisingly, the client is also the one who sent her here in the first place, and it's none other than Argus. Cyclops are known to have some sort of foresight ability, and from her vision, she sees Typhon will give someone a mysterious box. So Argus sent her here, only to realize that Argus herself had a part in this prophecy, as the said box is currently in her hand. Argus elaborates that she once accompanied a group of Colombian explorers deep into the ice field, and we later know it was Mariam and his team. Unfortunately, after their encounters with the demons, only Argus and Mariam survived, and Argus was told to bring this equipment box filled with unknown sample to Kapat by Mariam, while he continues moving north to a place never even touched before. Then Argus tells Typhon a few other things and hands over the box, and telling her she should give it to her Rhine lab friend. Shifting to Maggie in the local Rhine HQ. Here we know the SAR team is almost ready to conduct their operation. All they need now is the data Magellan has about the area to the ice field using the Sami route. Then Typhon appears and surprises Maggie. She hands over the box and explains what Argus has told her. 14. People were killed. The worst tragedy to ever befall SIS goes to show just how dangerous the ice field can be. But for now, they must check what's inside the box, and through the display window they can see it's some kind of flower. Shortly, they are going to inspect this flower in the lab. Upon closer look, this flower has no color and no visible root. Most definitely, it's a new specimen found deep in the ice field. And as they finally open the box seal, the air begins to feel strange, and everyone inside the lab appears to be hallucinating. Little did they know, this flower acts as some kind of anchor point for the demons, and can pollute the surrounding area if not contained. Luckily, Typhon breaks into the lab and wakes everyone inside, and Maggie quickly seals the box once again. Maggie then realized it was what Arja's notes referring to. Although this flower is without a doubt dangerous, but this is still a huge discovery, and the possible knowledge they can gain from it should be extremely valuable. So with that, they hire a messenger to deliver news about what they have learned so far, including data collected by Maggie and Sammy. And also, the flower was sent to Rhine HQ in Trimount, where the Eco section will study it further. This discovery has made everyone excited to further study the ice field, but Maggie reminds them to focus with the rescue operation first. Then Typhon talks to Maggie somewhere else. She reminds her and other explorers to be cautious in order to not fall into misfortune, because what Argus saw in her vision was a rather tragic ending. Whatever that means, if Maggie ever in trouble, Typhon is happy to help. Meanwhile, somewhere in the city, Santala finally found Comrade Liebefowl. Looks like he is a spy for Mother Ursus. He says that the Black Mark is a missing, and now a rampaging Emperor's blade, who has been fully taken over by the demon. No one knew where that Black Mark is now. But if he is actually in Sami, then his presence can also be one of the reasons why southern area of Sami is getting polluted by demons. The man then taunts Santala that the Black Mark will contaminate Sami for eternity. But Santala rebukes him by saying that the people of Sami have always and still be the force to hold against the demons no matter what. And with that, she slowly kills the man by freezing him to death. And once again, fate has brought Santala's gaze to protecting Sammy from something more evil from the ice field. Well, fellas, that's all the story of Typhon's event, a vignette that acts as an opening for IS-4. That should be all. Adios.